Local 4 News starts now with a forewarned weather alert.
And as you heard and can kind of see, a forewarned weather alert. Live look at the roads right now. The freeways are clear. That's a good thing. Neighborhoods, though, still trying to dig out. But Metro Detroit is expecting a fresh coat on the way. Ashley Barris is here to track the latest round of winter weather all morning long. And because Wednesday's snow came out of nowhere, some areas are still digging out. More than 140 schools are closed for the day, including Detroit schools. Let's check out the Mount Zion area in the UP right now. You can kind of see it, something, barely a little bit there. A lot of snow coming down over there. That's going to slowly make its way down here to Metro Detroit. Well, thank you for joining us here on Local 4 Live over there. Ashley Barcy is over here at this side of the table. So it essentially is up north right now, just kind of shifting its way down to us.
Well, kind of west to east is what we're tracking, but it's blanketing, you know, lower Michigan. But I was just thinking in my head, I mean, I know the reason for the season, but it's almost like we need to shift Christmas into January if we really want a white Christmas these days, because we are just getting walloped with winter weather this month. And so here we are, fresh coating of snow from Wednesday. And Nick, it's not melting anytime soon because we have colder air. You see the back of his head. I wish you could see the expression. Yeah, we don't have melting temperatures in the forecast today. At best, we're at 32. And then it's just downward from here with more snow chances in the forecast. So this is a live look with our Windsor Skycam. See some ice on the river. It just gives that cold effect. However, it actually is a little warmer today than yesterday. We're on either side of 20 to start the day. You can thank the southerly flow of wind for that. But the strength of the wind does allow for wind chill readings in the single digits. So let's kind of dissect radar for you. You see the warm front off to our east, so we are in the milder sector of this system. But we have had some light snow crossing the area, bringing some bursts at times. This is round 1. It doesn't bring as much accumulation as what round 2 likely will. That's crossing Lake Michigan. And if you recall, on Wednesday, it was that lake effect moisture coming off of Lake Huron that brought the more intense snowfall. So I think we get the more accumulating portion of this event late morning through the afternoon with what right now is over Lake Michigan. So we will continue to give you a timeline in a second here, but let's show you exact track 4D. If you're joining us pretty much north of I-96, you're seeing some flakes fly, and then our southern communities, much more sporadic. But the conditions have been changing really every 10, 15 minutes here. 32 degrees for the afternoon high, and then we will have that snow really becoming widespread, I would say by noon, but the onset in our western suburbs a bit earlier. And then a lot of that pushing out just after about 5 or so, and we will probably have some accumulation to contend with for the evening rush hour drive. So that widespread snow leading to some slippery roads, and this is why we issued a forewarned weather alert for today. It doesn't coexist with any alerts from the National Weather Service. What this is we have the side streets that are still snow covered and maybe even icy as it got compacted down, and the timing of the commute being impactful there, and the refreeze risk with some slushy snow that could be a bit icy. So those are all the factors why we have an alert for today. We're going to walk you through this timeline in full detail in just a few minutes.
Step by step.
Day by day.
I was waiting for it. Okay, thanks, Ash. Let's take a live look at the roads right now. Thanks to our traffic maps. Mostly green, a little bit of red in the area. Not horrific, though, which we're expecting it to start picking up and getting worse as the rush hour commute goes on. Some areas, as we talked about, though, still digging out from yesterday. Many of us woke up yesterday saying, what is going on here and why it took so long to get the roads cleared? Well, neighborhood streets and freeways were covered around this time Thursday morning, so we went to the road commissions to ask why. Both Wayne and Oakland counties say the amount of snow we ended up getting just shocked them, and a messy rush hour made it challenging to clear the roads.
At that point, it was very difficult to, because we were in the middle of rush hour and we were attacking it as we normally would attack it. So there's really nothing we could change or revise at that point.
We monitor the forecasts very closely. Our forecasts were saying 1 to 2 inches. We got over 6 inches in parts of the county.
Now, with more snow on the way, it is important drivers give crews room to work. Michigan law says you have to stay at least 200 feet behind a moving plow. Let's take a look at some My Picks right now. Check out this one from L'Oreal from Shelby Township, posting a photo of this alien crash landing in their backyard. Or how about Glenn showing us some snow waves on their roof in Warren. And finally, Lynn's in Waterford has this photo of the sun shining over a beautiful frozen lake. You can submit your weather photos to the My Picks page over at clickondetroit.com. And for the latest up-to-date weather in your neighborhood, make sure you download that Forewarn weather app. You can check the radar and hour-by-hour forecast whenever you want. It is free on both Apple and Android. Just search WDIV. In your headlines this morning, the man charged in a decades-old rape and murder case heading in front of a judge today. He's accused of killing Beverly Ann Wyville in 1989 after she was taken from a park in Canton, assaulted, and shot. Well, new DNA testing linked him to the crime in 2024. Today's hearing will present some more evidence. It's also a continuation of his bond hearing after a previous request for release was denied. And another story we're watching today, attorneys are set to announce 14 new plaintiffs, new victims in a lawsuit against a former Detroit nurse. Now, last year, 7 victims came forward. They filed against DMC Sinai Grace Hospital over Wilfredo Figueroa Barrios, who was accused of sexually assaulting patients and had a history of violence before getting hired. Attorneys say one case involves a whistleblower who was fired after reporting him. Well, next week, those living in Lyon Township have a chance to hear directly from those planning a massive data center called Project Flex. The 100-acre land that's being proposed is in the area just east of Milford Road and south of Grand River. Last night, neighbors packed an auditorium to voice their concerns and ask questions to a panel of experts about how this center might impact their lives. Now, the Planning Commission approved the site plan last fall, but the size of the project has raised environmental concerns. Both sides of the debate came together for a panel to learn more and discuss these issues, including the noise that the center could create.
I've been a township resident for almost 26 years, okay? And I trusted them to take care of me, like noise, pollution, anything that might affect the land or the town. And now here they are bringing something in and they're not giving us all the information and they're not telling us the truth. 44 decimals is not possible for 6 buildings. I am so sorry, it is just not possible. That's what concerns me most is the sound, okay? Even when we went to talk to both the board and the Planning Commission, they didn't really have any knowledge about what we thought, what we cared about. Was it important to us? Was it not important to us? And that was very disappointing to me. I'm like, they should have said something, anything, but they didn't.
Now, Lyon Township officials were not at last night's meeting, but said Lyon Township remains steadfast in its commitments to protecting the safety, health, and welfare of its residents. All stages of the Project Flex review will be guided by these priorities. Well, much of Detroit waking up to single-digit wind chills, and as Ashley was talking about, we are not done yet. How much snow is actually on the way? And when the deepest cold moves in, we're following that forewarned weather alert. Plus, we're going to have a conversation with Chalkbeat. An education reporter says why Michigan students are falling further and further behind. Welcome back to Local 4 Live, everybody. Students are halfway through the school year, and the numbers show the challenges they are facing. The latest Nation's report card reveals that only 24% of fourth graders were proficient in reading in 2024 and just 37% proficient in math. Here in Michigan, third graders recorded their lowest English language arts scores in over 10 years. Now, with students still struggling to recover from the pandemic and a high-stakes governor's race ahead, the pressure to improve, of course, is high. There's also new leadership in Detroit promising to address issues like transportation and after-school programs, but there are still many other challenges impacting our students. Joining us to talk about some of these issues and much more, we have Lori Higgins with Chalkbeat. That's a nonprofit news organization covering education. Lori, as always, thank you for joining us this morning. As you have always eloquently talked about in your reporting, the numbers are one thing, but there's always a narrative, a story behind how we get to this point. What are you hearing in terms of why these numbers are still so low or high, I guess, depending on how you look at it?
Well, I think, Michigan students are still recovering or trying to recover from the pandemic. But I think we also have to recognize that this slide was happening before the pandemic began. I think we can actually go back to the Great Recession to where we probably started to see a little bit of a decline in Michigan. And Michigan is not alone. A lot of other states are experiencing, similar issues. Michigan has tried a number of reforms, but abandoned, a lot of them. And I think what we see in some states that have shown improvement is that they've stuck with their reforms. There's been sustained work to improve literacy. Literacy, obviously, very important. And I also think, as you noted, we do have a governor's race coming. I do expect this to be a very key topic during the race. I do wonder how much of the discussion will be about the low scores and about, fixing Michigan schools, and how much of it will be about acknowledging some of the societal issues that make it difficult for kids to learn.
Yeah, you and I have had some great lengthy conversations about how sometimes these issues aren't a classroom issue and it is a societal issue, or it's a home issue, and just some things you can't fix in the classroom. Do you think that those are more of the issues that are keeping these numbers lower than we want them to be?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the Detroit School District, they have a very serious chronic absenteeism problem. A number of kids are just not coming to school on a regular basis. And it's not because kids don't want to come to school, and it's not because parents don't want to make sure their kids get to school. There's a lot of housing instability. There's a lot of families don't have transportation. There are a lot of kids who have health issues that prevent them from coming to school. These are things that schools by themselves can't fix. There's a lot of poverty in the city. A lot of students come from low-income homes, and that creates even more challenges. We can change the curriculum. We can change so many things about how schools operate. We can get tough on schools that are not performing well. We can talk a lot about firing people, but none of that will address those issues that I just raised that have more to do with what's happening in various communities.
So I guess my question then is, how do we get those who make the policies and those who specifically work on the budgets to understand that connection is real?
Well, that's a good question. I think I'll answer it this way. I think that there are a lot of eyes. I know my eyes are on the new mayor, Mary Sheffield, because she does have an opportunity here in Detroit as a new mayor, who has talked a lot about wanting to play a role in ensuring that students can be successful. She doesn't want to run the school district. The mayor doesn't have that power, but the mayor does have the power to address some of the issues that make it difficult. So she has specifically talked about transportation. We've heard from so many students that just getting to and from school is a challenge. Buses pass them by, or they're late, and making them late for school. And after school programs. A lot of schools do not have that safety net for kids, whose parents may still be working once the school day is over. And after school programs can not only provide a safe place for kids, but it also can provide a place for enrichment, for tutoring, for a lot of the things that struggling students need.
One last question for you, Lori. We were at Pancakes and Politics yesterday, and there was a great conversation about how it seems like our K through 12 education is becoming more and more disconnected with current society. Not only the issues that you bring up, but just also about curriculum and things that get our young ones excited to learn about. Do you think there should be a broader conversation about revamping just the curriculum itself in our schools?
I mean, that's an interesting question. And I think part of the problem is that we are a very local control state. There's no mandate for what kind of curriculum or what curriculum schools need to use. We are moving in the direction of schools having to pick from an approved list of curriculum or curriculums that are shown to be effective. But we're not completely there yet, and that is just in literacy right now. And so when we have nearly 900 school districts, if you count the traditional school districts, the charter schools, the intermediate school districts. Everyone is doing their own thing, unless we sort of, I guess, move boldly toward a more sort of statewide curriculum, which I don't think anyone wants. But that doesn't change the reality of the fact that what you're learning in one district could be completely different than what you're learning in another district.
Right. Okay, Laura Higgins with Chalkbeat. We always appreciate your time. Thank you much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a live look over Mount Clemens right now with our forewarned weather alert. It might be calm, as you can see there. You can finally see a little bit of the roads after Wednesday's kind of snow dumped a lot of surprising snow on top of us. But Ashley is here to talk about some snow that we actually do see coming in the forecast this time around.
Right.
Yeah. The models agree on this one, right?
That's right. Well, the models agreed on the last one.
Yeah, you were getting nothing.
Exactly. So here we are and trying to trust these models after they betrayed us earlier in the week. But we do see the snow already on radar, so we can verify that we've had some light snow across the area. But as far as an additional 1 to maybe 3 inches in spots, the snow that will likely stick will be by late this morning. So I'm talking just before the lunch hour and taking us through the earlier part of the afternoon. That's the window of the more steady snowfall that will be sticking. We have more snow chances in store through the weekend, even into the long holiday weekend as far as Monday, and frigid temperatures early next week that we want to get you through and prepared for as well. But let's start with the snow. You can see that warm front to our northeast. So we're actually in a bit of a milder sector of this weather system and warmer compared to where we were yesterday. It's still going to be cold, folks. I mean, we were waking up to single-digit wind chills, but improvement from the sub-zero wind chills we had 24 hours ago. But look at those brown dashes. That's that upper-level disturbance that's crossing the upper Midwest, bringing snow over Lake Michigan, which will likely pull more moisture off of the lakes as it works its way east. And that will dump about a 1 to 3, I would say more so 1 to 2, but 1 to 3 inches across portions of southeast Michigan by the time we get to the evening and it's all said and done. So the thumb getting some more of that steady light snow, and you'll see a few little pockets of that across the metro area for now, but that's not overly impressive on Exact Track 4D. The fact, though, that we do have slippery and snowy side streets that crews have yet to get to, and we're adding a little more on top of that, that's what's going to make travel pretty tricky as we go throughout the day. Our high temperatures have been all over the place this month, but I'm telling you right now, forewarning you that the next 2 weeks will be a little more consistent. We went from a 20-degree high on New Year's Day, same yesterday, but the in-between had some above average days, including a record high of 60. Talk about what a difference a week makes from 60 to 20. But here we are forecasting ahead to the end of the month, and the temperature outlook for days 6 through 10, well below average. And these are outlooks put out by the Climate Prediction Center. And that even takes us below average to January 30th. So we will likely be rounding out the month on a very cold note. I get it's January, it's cold, but this is colder than usual. Temperatures are on either side of 20 as we speak, as we're taking a live look at our current conditions. And wind chill readings still holding on to some single digits in spots, but low double digits right now in some of the outlying suburbs. So 32 degrees for the afternoon high today. That's seasonal. That's exactly where we should be. And it comes with those snow chances that are much more widespread, 12, 1, 2, even through about 4 o'clock. By 5, a lot of this is to our east, but now we're starting to try to clean things up. And it's going to be very iffy if it can be cleaned for that evening rush hour drive. So there's the widespread blanket of snow that pushes through this afternoon. By late this evening, pushing to the northeast. And then we just have more scattered snow showers in the forecast through the weekend. Not necessarily a widespread event. I would say Sunday night going into Monday, we could get blanketed with some light snow. But today's snowfall forecast projects anywhere from about a half an inch down in Monroe to upward of 2 inches as you get along and north of about M59. Forecast for the next 7 days. So now let's talk more so temperatures, because you can see the off and on snow chances through MLK Day. 20s this weekend. By early next week, highs are in the teens. And I do need to draw your attention to Monday night into Tuesday morning with that overnight low projected in the single digits. Right now, models hinting at wind chill readings about 15 below zero. And that's really important to note because kids are off school Monday, but Tuesday would be the first day back, and we could be teetering at the threshold of, dangerously cold temperatures for school closings. I'm not sounding the alarm. I just want to draw your attention to it because this is going to fluctuate over the next few days.
Not just potential school closings, but bus stop weather or
right.
Recess weather, or if they're going to be kept inside because it's too cold to go outside. Like there's so many factors involved there.
Yes, and any kind of after school activities or maybe sports that do still practice outside this time of year. I mean, that would all change. Yeah.
Okay, Ash, thank you much. We're going to come back in just a few minutes here with Local 4 update over on the television side of things, and then a live look over Huntington Place. The Detroit Auto Show opens to the public tomorrow. But we had some great conversations at Pancakes and Politics. We're going to talk about how we're trying to attract big events like the Final Four or the NFL Draft, but we need so many more hotels to accomplish these things. We'll talk about that when we come back. Good morning, everybody. I'm Nick Monticelli with a Local 4 update. The man charged in a decades-old rape and murder case will be in front of a judge today. Buster Robbins is accused of killing Beverly Ann Wyville in 1989. DNA testing linked Robbins to that case in 2024. Last month, his defense team requested he be released on bond. The judge said no because of the crime and the evidence against him. We'll let you know what develops out of today's hearing. And we're also streaming another 90 minutes of Local 4 news over on Local 4 Plus. Here's what we have coming up. The auto show gets underway for the public tomorrow. That means we're going to talk mobility here in the city of Detroit. Coming up, a conversation with the CEO of Visit Detroit on what we need to do to better attract larger events. And then Dr. McGeorge is going to be answering some questions about the flu as cases continue to rise here in Michigan. All that coming up on Local 4 Live.
Local 4 News starts now with a forewarned weather alert.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Local 4 Live. Our biggest conversation today after all that surprising snow that we had Wednesday into Thursday. We're in for a little bit more of it today. Not as much, hopefully, about 1 to 3 inches. A live look outside right now. And the local side roads, this is kind of the bigger deal today. All the snow that came down on Wednesday and Thursday, much of it hasn't been cleared on the side streets. That's why you're seeing a lot of school closings today, and we've got more of it on the way. So we do want to talk more about what's happening here on Local 4 Live. Ashley Barresi, former meteorologist. You're fighting a cough here.
I just had a little cough. I didn't want to distract you. A little tickle, yeah.
So today is obviously not as bad. 1 to 3 inches, you're thinking?
That's really what it looks like. And I mean, lesser amounts as you get close to Monroe, and then maybe you have a couple localized pockets that get more of the lake effect banding that could be upward of 2 or 3 inches. But I mean, there were a lot of folks that were right at that 6-inch range, from Wednesday. So yeah, not as substantial as midweek, but nonetheless, it's inconvenient. And then you just pointed out those side streets. So we're adding the snow on top of what's already not been cleared in some spots. And then even the areas that have been cleared, we get this fresh little dusting and it can create some slick spots. Today, Today, I think it'll be more of a wet snow by the afternoon as we get to 32 because we're right at that threshold of freezing. And I would worry more so if that doesn't get cleared by later today and we start to slide below freezing, that it could get a little more icy on ramps, bridges, overpasses. So either way, we're at around 20 degrees to start the day, either side of it. We have a southerly flow of wind, which means that we're milder today, but we're still looking at some of the single-digit wind chills out there. We're sandwiched between two fronts right now. Warm front's off to our east, so we are in the milder sector of the system, and we've had some of that light snow pushing eastward across southeast Michigan, but drawing your attention to what's over Lake Michigan. That's pulling more of that lake moisture and will work its way here, and I think that's where you start to see some of that add up as the afternoon progresses for today. So we have most of the, I would say, more moderate snow from this morning up towards Sandusky, Port Huron, and we will have a bit of a lull for a little bit, which is good news if you're going to be out and about throughout the, I would say, mid-morning here. But then around 11 a.m. noon is when we start to see the onset of the more widespread steady snow that sticks with us through the early afternoon. 32 for the high, and we've issued the forewarned weather alert due to widespread snow and the possibility of slippery roads for all of those reasons that I just mentioned. The timing, the fact we're adding to the previous snow, and the refreeze threat. So we'll continue to be on top of it for you throughout the day, and then talk about a winter wall up for the weekend.
Oh, great.
Yeah, because of the cold and more snow chances, and January just not being kind to us.
Yeah. Not to bring up bad memories, I just haven't had a chance to talk to you a little bit since that surprise snow, I guess we can call it. You had mentioned something in your forecast that I wanted to ask about again. Yeah. You said that the data and a lot of the models, they just don't quite understand lake effect snow.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain degree they do, but I just think that there are just so many factors with the lake effect moisture. And yesterday was such, or not yesterday, Wednesday, was such a great example of that. I mean, you have the winds, even the speeds shifting just a little bit, a little more intense. It's going to push a little farther inland. The direction shifts just a little bit. That could push it 1-2 cities over. And so when you factor in just those minor shifts in the atmosphere and the amount of moisture available, and if not every model picks up the moisture that's coming out of the lakes as opposed to what's already up into the jet stream, and then you're going to see some of these models really struggling with that content. And I think that that's really what, verified on Wednesday, was that every model kept this up into the thumb region. And when I compared the two maps from the forecast to what actually happened, what was supposed to be in the thumb shifted down into Oakland County and Macomb County, and really the thumb didn't get as much as what we saw there. Yeah, so
our gain is their loss, technically.
So, and sometimes that happens, but I think every meteorologist in town keeps stressing we're right more than we're wrong. It's not a perfect science, and so we still hope that you'll trust us. And obviously, we were caught off guard too. We have families, and I was at school pickup and at sporting practices and stuff, and I'm like,
now
when is this snow machine going to stop? Like, oh my gosh, yes. And then my kids didn't have school, and so we are feeling it with you. We empathize, and we want to make sure that we prepare you the best we can.
All right, thanks, Ash. Okay, we're going to go to the Detroit Auto Show now for a conversation on how to move Detroit and this entire region forward. Tonight is the charity preview, and tomorrow it opens to you, the public, 10 o'clock in the morning, by the way. But yesterday we were there as the industry and community leaders came together for what you see right there, the Michigan Chronicles Pancakes and Politics event. It was a discussion, again, about the future of Detroit, but also this entire region, featuring Bedrock CEO Jared Fleischer, Wayne County Executive Warren Evans, and Assembly Ventures co-founder Chris Thomas. It was streamed here on Local 4 Plus, and it's now streaming on demand. But after that chat, I had an opportunity to sit down with the people in the audience, including the CEO of Visit Detroit. Claude Molinari is now here, the man behind the curtain at Visit Detroit, making everything happen. It was a great conversation that was had up here. In every single one of the things they talked about directly tied to all the work that you're doing to move the regional economy forward and bring more people to the city of Detroit.
Oh yeah, there's no question. And I think, Nick, that it's so important that we are looking towards the growth. And how's that going to happen? And a lot of it happens because we have to have jobs for people. And I think that's a critical ability. 51% of the available jobs in Southeast Michigan are not serviced by public transportation. So there's people who could work if they had the opportunity. Yeah. And I think that's a critical piece. And then, from our standpoint, we're all about growing our ability to host events. And that starts with hotels.
Which actually is happening right outside the door here.
That's no question. And I'm hopeful that, every morning I wake up and every night I go to bed about how we're going to get more hotels here. And we're working with developers, with the Downtown Authority, and I feel like we've got some more announcements coming up pretty soon.
Okay, a little tease there.
Yes.
Can you kind of give us some of the numbers in terms of where we're at with hotel spaces and rooms? Because we can attract more events. We have the venues, we have the backing financially for most of these things. We just don't have places for people to stay, and that's why we are skipped over.
It's so critical. Basically, if we doubled our current hotel capacity, that would only put us in the middle of our competitive set.
Doubled it?
Doubled it.
How many rooms is that?
So we're at 6,000. Like a place like Philadelphia, Indianapolis, they're at 12, 15, 30,000. So it really puts us in a competitive disadvantage. So that's why it's so critical that we build these hotels that are within walking distance or connected to the convention center, because that's what our customers demand, or our would-be customers that aren't coming because we can't attract them.
Now, you talked about walking distance. Is that kind of the key there? Because we do have plenty of hotels regionally. You know, Dearborn's only 20 minutes west. You don't have to go that far, but it's about being in the downtown core.
It is. It's, you know, when you're looking at these major conventions, as soon as you say to somebody, we're going to put you on a bus, and it's going to be a beautiful motor coach, they're like, and we're out. You know, it's all about, I need to be able to walk to where I need to go, or within like the people mover, something though within a mile of the center. Beyond that, then it starts. And we have the same issue in Novi too, whereas we've got this very large building, but the hotel capacity means that it cannot reach its potential.
Interesting. I didn't realize that it was that much of a non-starter for these would-be clients.
Just to give you an idea, in the last 5 years, we've lost over 600,000 room nights because events that wanted to come here, we didn't meet their criteria from a hotel room standpoint. So again, it's like, hey, Claude, I need you to give us 6,000 hotel rooms. We can only give you 4,000. They don't give us 4,000. They give 6,000 to another city.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I know you can't spill the beans here, but in terms of timeline, do you think we can get to that 12,000 mark in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yes, I do. I think that, you know, there are things in play, and Detroit, the perception of our city has changed so much. I was just at a conference in Philadelphia, and cities like Portland, Minneapolis, Memphis, they were saying, we got to find out what Detroit's doing. We got to follow their model, because we've really changed that paradigm. And so as developers start to see us as a real great destination to build on, I think that's going to continue.
So in terms of number of hotels then, to double capacity, are we talking another 4 or 5 hotels?
I'd say we really need six major hotels, like 600-room hotels that could then elevate us to that next level.
Gotcha. Okay. In terms of the other, you talked about this at the beginning, but I'll circle back to it. I know your job mainly is to bring in events and attractions to the city of Detroit, but this conversation about attracting people to stay here and to work here, how much of that plays into the work that you do?
Well, you know, it really... So what happens is, let's say we go to book something, someone will say, all right, great, I like your center, but where am I going to eat? Where am I going to sleep? Where am I going to shop? Where am I going to party? Where am I going to do events? And if you don't have that whole thing, I mean, you know, Woodward has changed so much with our shopping now that has become, if not a strength, it's certainly neutral, where before it was a big weakness. You know, our restaurants and our attractions, huge benefit. You know, having all 4 major sports teams right downtown within walking distance of our hotels and convention, huge benefit to us in order to sell. So we've got so many positive things. We just have that one Achilles heel. But again, having a vibrant downtown where all these people are running around. I had clients recently at Le Supreme on Washington Boulevard at the Book Tower, and they just look at all these people. This is like just an afternoon into the evening. They were shocked. They were so excited to see all these people wandering around, and those are residents. So things, a vibrant, active city with a lot of different industry, that draws people.
Okay, you heard it here first. 6 new hotels in the next 5 to 10 years. I'm holding you to it.
Sounds good.
Okay, Claude. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Sir.
You can watch all of our Pancakes and Politics broadcasts right now and click on Detroit.com and our YouTube page as well. All right, coming up next on this Friday, we're going to take a look in the history books, a live look at Flint right now, where, believe it or not, 10 years ago today is when the federal government stepped in to help during that water crisis. We're going to take a look at how it started and where they stand today. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. We're going to now take a live look at Flint on this Friday, a city that was at the center of a crisis 10 years ago. It was on this day in 2016 that then President Obama declared a federal emergency for the city as thousands were facing a water crisis that continues to impact people there today. So to understand where we are today, we do have to go back quite a ways into the history books. This started back in 2014 when, under state emergency management, Flint tried saving money by switching from Detroit's water system to draw water from the Flint River. Now, within weeks of that switch, neighbors began reporting problems with the water, but they were repeatedly told everything's fine, it's safe to drink, even as the system failed 3 consecutive tests. By 2015, internal documents and emails started revealing a different story, saying the Flint River water was more corrosive than the Detroit water supply. By October of that year, the state declared a public health emergency. That leads us to January 16th, 2016, when President Obama stepped in.
I will not rest, and I'm going to make sure that the leaders at every level of government don't rest until every drop of water that flows to your homes is safe to drink and safe to cook with and safe to bathe in, because that's part of the basic responsibilities of a government in the United States of America. And I know that if I was a parent up there, I would be beside myself that my kid's health could be at risk. And that's why over the weekend I declared a federal emergency in Flint to send more resources on top of the assistance that we've already put on the ground.
Now, what followed was a series of changes to fix the problem and hold people accountable. Governor Snyder was in the center of this harsh congressional hearing as lawmakers demanded answers and called for him to resign.
But you need to take some responsibility because you screwed up and you messed up 100,000 people's lives.
Since they work for me, I am responsible for their actions. And I take that responsibility, and I kick myself every single day about what I could have done to do more. I'm committed to a complete and comprehensive change in state government that puts public health and safety first.
All right, let's take a look at what happened since that declaration and the fight over on Capitol Hill. In 2021, former Governor Rick Snyder and 8 others were charged with willful neglect of duty for their role in the crisis. And then the following year, those charges were dismissed. Since 2016, the water is now meeting federal standards, and the U.S. has spent billions of dollars swapping out lead pipes in cities across the country. Now, just before Christmas of last year, residents started receiving settlement payments. And also last year, the Michigan GOP voted to block $8.3 million in funding meant for programs attached to the Flint water crisis.
Flint drinking water emergency is over. Even Governor Whitmer has acknowledged that, but yet they continue to want to fund it and squirrel away money for it. That isn't happening.
All right, so you still find water distribution sites around the city, homes using filters as well. On Thursday, here's what Senator Alyssa Slotkin had to say about those still impacted by this crisis.
Let me be clear, the crisis in Flint has not ended. Not in Flint, not in Michigan. And as a Michigander and Flint's senator, not for me. Flint is a community still in pain, still seeking justice, still seeking accountability. And as Flint's newest senator, I wanted to be here on the 10-year anniversary to make sure Michiganders and Americans don't forget what happened.
Now, the amount of money families receive depends on certain factors like age and level of lead exposure. The settlement ranges between $1,000 and $100,000. Families are still looking for justice. Many have sued the EPA because they still feel the long-term effects of that water crisis. As you probably know by now, there is a forewarned weather alert in effect with more snow on the way and icy roads ahead. What the afternoon drive could look like and when conditions are expected to get worse. Ashley has all of that when we come back. Welcome back. The graphics tell you the story of forewarned weather alerts on your Friday. Taking a live look with some side streets in the city of Detroit. This is the reason that many schools throughout Metro Detroit are closed today, especially the Detroit public schools as well. Just side streets haven't been cleared yet. The road commissions and city crews still trying to catch up after all that snow. And now making it worse as we bring in Ashley Barrissey, more snow coming today, which is going to add to that. And then with the temperatures, things are going to get really rock solid. It's kind of a perfect storm, so to speak.
Right.
It's not a storm.
Well, yeah. I think that some of these districts, we're thinking, oh gosh, the majority of the snow that's going to stick today, coming right at the time that kids are going to be on the bus going home from school. And we already dealt with delayed buses on Wednesday. And so, a long weekend already. We have the holiday weekend. And so tag on another day for some of these districts. But I'm going to tell you what, I wouldn't be shocked if you do another one come Tuesday because of temperatures. But
really?
Yeah. And I'll show you in a second.
These kids love you.
Yes. Like all the parents are like, oh, Ashley. And the parents are like, yes. The kids are like, yes, this is so good. So yeah, additional snow 1 to 3 inches today. We can handle that, right? We're Michiganders. But it really has to do with the timing that we're going to have a lot of this start to stick just after the lunch hour through the midday hours. And I think that it starts to taper off just in time for the evening rush hour drive, which you think, oh, it's not falling from the sky. But at that point, now we're talking about a slow go because crews are going to have to work to clear it at that point. And if those crews, those trucks get stuck in the traffic of rush hour. They can't go any faster than the folks are traveling. Yeah. So, here we are with the potential for a slow evening commute and then frigid going into early next week. We'll have a few more bouts of some light snow over the weekend, kind of off and on with clipper systems. But really, our attention is going to shift to some dangerous wind chills by Tuesday morning once we get past more of this event. So here we are. We have this warm front to our east. We're sandwiched between that front and the cold front you see in blue. And we're going to be a little milder today. 32, seasonal for this time of year. Warmer than where we were yesterday. I'll tell you what, that 32 will feel balmy by the time we get to next week.
It's going to feel like spring break out there.
Yeah. And then we have this disturbance that is pushing across Lake Michigan. And you have to remember that that's going to pull more moisture off of the lake. And we will see how far this pushes across lower Michigan and dumps some of that lake effect moisture for us as the afternoon rolls on. And then that cold front sweeps through. We get a blast of colder air. And if we have anything that's slushy today, that'll refreeze late in the day as temperatures tumble. But for now, we're in that lull. This would be a great time to go run some errands if you don't have to be at work today. But we have a little bit of snow up in the thumb region right now, but it is the break before I would say probably about 11, 12 o'clock is when you start to see that intensity and coverage become more widespread. January highs. We started off the year 20 degrees for a high. Yesterday was only 20, and that's well below the average of 32. But last week at this time was 60. We had 60 last week.
I was so happy.
I know. It was such a tease of spring. And then here we are back in, not just winter, the Arctic tundra that we're going to be dealing with. And that snow not going anywhere because of this. We will be below average, likely from day 6 through 10. So I'm taking you beyond the 7-day forecast I'm just about to show you, and maybe even in the next 2 weeks. This takes us all the way to 14 days out. And that rounds out the month of January. So I think you're going to see a lot more of those blue squares on that calendar that I just showed you compared to the ups and downs we've had. We're on either side of 20 at this hour, and those wind chill readings still hovering in the single digits to some low double digits. So it's still chilly out there, but 32 for the high with snow chances increasing late morning through midday. As we take a closer look at how this shakes out, there's that blanket that kind of pushes in and out throughout the afternoon and will likely dump about 1 to maybe some localized spots closer to 3 inches. But I think a lot of folks are closer to that 1 to 2 inch range, as you see right here, smaller amounts down towards Monroe. Here's your full forecast. 20s this weekend. We will have highs only in the teens come Monday and Tuesday. Monday maybe not as much of a big deal because kids have the day off school, but there could be some volunteering events and things outside that people have to contend with on MLK Day. But it's going to be Tuesday morning with that low of 5 and models indicating 15 below 0 with the wind chill. That will be right at that threshold, Nick, of do schools cancel because of the dangerous cold? Right. And maybe they lean against that because they've already had a long weekend, but it'll be iffy, and we'll just monitor that over the weekend.
4 degrees.
For an overnight low. I know. And not even factoring in the wind chills. And think of the afternoon, at best you're in the teens. Right. Yeah, no thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commercial break. See you later.
I want that 60-degree day back.
Thanks, Ash. Yeah. All right, taking a live look at Cortina on this Friday. In just a couple of weeks, skiers and snowboarders will be hitting the slopes for the Winter Games. And this year, a Michigander is looking for gold yet again. Nick Baumgartner won a gold medal during the Beijing Winter Games. He is the oldest Olympic snowboarding medalist in history. And now the seasoned athlete from the UP is attempting to make his 5th Olympics. This weekend is the final chance to qualify for the games in Milan and Cortina. Our Ty Steele went up north to Iron River to see how Nick is preparing himself to punch his ticket to the Olympics.
On a quiet, snowy street just outside Iron River, Michigan, where harsh winters are a way of life, sits a house with a yard that doubles as a snowboard track.
All right, it's time to do Olympic training, Bates Township edition. Here we go.
And to Nick Baumgartner, this is an Olympic training facility. No chairlift, no groomers, and the sponsors' logos are on propane tanks. Shoo! Just a snow shovel, a chainsaw, and a 44-year-old snowboarder who built his own course by hand.
I put in 20 to 30 hours building this track at my home, and when it's all done, it's a heck of a place to train right outside my door.
Every day on Nick Baumgartner Way, he straps in and drops down this homemade track. Every bump, every turn, carved by Nick himself, because his mantra is simple: outwork the competition.
To the finish, baby.
So do you think anybody outworks you?
No, absolutely not. I'm sure there's a few of them that do the same amount of work as me, and they're doing everything that they can, but no one's outworking me.
Nick is the oldest athlete on the U.S. snowboard cross team by far, old enough to be the father of some of the guys he races with.
The older I get, the more people just say, he's not a threat this time. He's not a threat this time. Fall asleep on me. See what happens.
Most mountain athletes slow down in their 30s. Nick won gold at 40.
Can I pick it up?
Absolutely, you can pick it up. This thing does not live on the mantle. This lives in my pocket, in my backpack, or the console of my truck.
Getting to the top of the podium for Team Snowboard Cross in Beijing helps fund his career now, but it wasn't always like that.
It's funny, I was working for a concrete company out of Green Bay, Wisconsin.
At the start, pouring concrete to support himself and his son, back when snowboarding wasn't even an Olympic sport.
Nick's training doesn't stop in his backyard in Iron River. To build the strength that he will need for Italy, he makes the long drive to Marquette, where the work looks different, but the mindset stays the same.
Out-train the competition. Inside advantage training, Nick knows he has the advantage as the old man, working out with guys half his age.
Nick, how much you love sprinting?
Oh man, as long as nothing pops, we love it. Go.
The one who's been to the top, fallen short, but always gets back up.
The last thing I want to do is come around these young kids and look old. So I work a little bit harder. And then when I can come here and I can test some of these kids, pushes them as well.
And always turns limitations into an edge. And not necessarily on a snowboard.
Hey guys, Nick Baumgartner here at the South Trails in Marquette. For me, mountain biking is the closest thing I can get to the racing that I do.
After decades in a sport built on speed, Nick has proven something true. Sometimes the longest and most difficult path often leads to the highest peak. And sometimes it starts in your own backyard.
The only thing you forgot to ask him was all about that mustache. That's a good-looking mustache. We have Ty's full interview with Nick over at ClickOnDetroit.com, including why Nick thinks he has had so much longevity in his career. And don't forget, Ty is going to be heading to the Milan area covering the Winter Games, helping keep track of our athletes with ties to our area, as well as giving you some glimpses into Italian culture. Look for live Olympic updates starting February 6th here on Local 4. Coming up at 9 o'clock, the flu is still running rampant. Dr. McGee is answering questions you sent to us, like why some people are getting it twice. And then the cost to buy a new car is at a record high. What is the cheapest new car on the market? And it's still more than $20,000. And we are in a forewarned weather alert. Ashley has your snowcast for today and dangerous cold later next week.
Local 4 News starts now with a forewarned weather alert.
And our forewarned team of meteorologists issued that alert last night looking at today's forecast. And part of the reason is because you can see that the roads, the side streets here in southwest Detroit and many in Metro Detroit still covered with snow. And now we were going to add to that later on this afternoon. Ashley Barassi is here to talk to us about all this as we take a live look around the Metro Detroit area. As we look throughout here, you can see we've got cameras in Southfield and the airport as well here, Southfield right now. This 696 stretch, you can see shoulders still have snow on them, the rest of the area, but you can drive it right now. I don't know if it's going to get worse this afternoon. That's what Ashley is here for. And then Metro Airport, kind of a similar situation. They're going to be clearing the runways a lot. Probably around 11 noon, you think, Ash, is when things are going to start to hit?
Yeah, I think that's the onset of it.
Yeah.
If you're definitely catching a flight out, I would say around 3, 4 o'clock. Now we're dealing with the fact that we already have some accumulation on the ground. And I think that's where crews could struggle a little bit today, because by the time we're done with the snow and you really want to clear everything out, we're in the heart of the evening rush hour drive. So I don't think a lot's falling at that point. 5 o'clock onward, it should be tapering off, but we're contending with the additional accumulation. So, those trucks are out there with all the other traffic and they can only go the speed of those slow cars.
And stay 200 feet back. They'll
That's
be
right.
adding to the problem.
Don't crowd the plow. I'm not sure what this net is. Do you know what this net is with this camera that we have here looking at campus marshes?
I think they added, these are up there to try to keep birds off them.
Oh, well, the other Nick, because we have Nick Squared in here, he's telling me construction.
Oh, well, let's see who's right. I'm sure it's Nick Squared, I promise you. It's probably him.
Oh,
What is going on there?
I don't know. But anyways, you can see, I wanted to show.
There's one.
Oh, they cleared it out for us. Thank you.
Somebody's watching.
Yeah, so really the surface streets around campus marshes aren't too bad, but it is a little winter wonderland out there, and we will be holding onto the snow for a while. So another live look. Let's check in with temps either side of 20. Southerly winds, even though it's coming from the south, will make it feel a bit cooler because of the speeds. Another look from our Windsor Skycam. Those sustained winds are about 10 to 15 miles per hour, so holding on to a few single-digit wind chills. But satellite radar showing that round one of the snow now creeping east of here, pushing things out. We'll have a lull for a bit, but about 11 a.m. noon, we start to see more of that widespread snow appear. So that is on the east side, or I should say the west side of the state, pushing eastward into our area in the next few hours. We have a little bit of snow up into the Thumb region that is clipping portions of Macomb County up towards Sandusky, but it's moving out of here. 32 degrees for the high for today, and this will feel balmy because we have a very frigid air mass building in by next week. A couple more bouts of snow over the weekend. We're going to give you full details with a breakdown just ahead.
All righty.
Yeah.
It's Michigan. Get used to it.
Yeah, I got to do some investigating on that camera.
Well, Nick knows everything.
He does.
Maybe he called somebody and had them rip it off there. All right, taking a live look at the roads from our traffic maps right now. Mostly green, which is surprising, honestly, on a Friday morning. But I guess it just means that rush hour is winding down, and it's going to be a much different looking map come the evening rush hour commute. There's going to be red and yellow all over that thing. So just give yourselves a whole lot of extra time for the later commutes. And many of us woke up yesterday morning wondering why it took so long to get the roads cleared. The neighborhood streets and freeways were covered about this time Thursday morning. So we went to the road commissions to ask why. Both Wayne and Oakland County say the amount of snow we ended up getting shocked them. And it was a messy rush hour, making it challenging to clear the roads at all.
At that point, it was very difficult too, because we were in the middle of rush hour and we were attacking it as we normally would attack it. So there's really nothing we could change or revise at that point.
We monitor the forecasts very closely. Our forecasts were saying 1 to 2 inches. We got over 6 inches in parts of the county.
Now, with more snow on the way, it is important drivers give crews room to work. Don't crowd the plow. Michigan law requires you to stay at least 200 feet behind a moving plow. And for the latest up-to-date weather in your neighborhood, make sure you download that Forewarn Weather app. You can check the radar and the hour-by-hour forecast whenever you want. We'll also send you push alerts when the snow is approaching your area. The app is free for you on both Apple and Android devices. Just search WDIV. All right, now to your news headlines here on a Friday. The man charged in a decades-old rape and murder case will be back in front of a judge today. He's accused of killing Beverly Ann Wyville in 1989 after she was taken from a park in Canton, assaulted, and shot. New DNA testing linked him to the crime in 2024. Today's hearing will present evidence. It's also a continuation of his bond hearing after a previous request for his release was denied. Another story to watch today, attorneys are set to announce 14 new victims in a lawsuit against a former Detroit nurse and Detroit Sinai Grace. Now, last year, 7 lawsuits were filed against DMC Sinai Grace Hospital over Wilfredo Figueroa Barrios, who was accused of sexually assaulting patients and had a history of violence before being hired. Attorneys say one case involves a whistleblower who was fired after reporting him. Well, next week, those living in Lyon Township will have a chance to hear directly from those planning a massive data center. It's called Project Flex. The 100-acre land that's being proposed is in the area just east of Milford Road and south of Grand River. Last night, neighbors packed an auditorium to voice their concerns and ask questions to a panel of experts about how the center might impact their lives. The Planning Commission approved the site plan last fall, but the size of the project has raised some environmental concerns. Both sides of the debate came together for the panel to learn more and discuss those issues, including the noise this center will create.
I've been a township resident for almost 26 years, okay? And I trusted them to take care of me, like noise, pollution, anything that might affect the land or the town. And now here they are bringing something in and they're not giving us all the information and they're not telling us the truth. 44 decimals is not possible for 6 buildings. I am so sorry, it is just not possible. That's what concerns me most is the sound, okay? Even when we went to talk to both the board and the Planning Commission, they didn't really have any knowledge about what we thought, what we cared about. Was it important to us? Was it not important to us? And that was very disappointing to me. I mean, they should have said something, anything, but they didn't.
Now, Lyon Township officials were not at the meeting last night, but said Lyon Township remains steadfast in its commitment to protecting the safety, health, and welfare of its residents. All stages of the Project Flex review will be guided by these priorities. 3 college basketball players with ties to Eastern Michigan have been indicted in a scheme to rig basketball games. Carlos Hart is a current basketball player at Eastern. Deshaun Nelson and Jalen Terry are former players. All 3 of them are accused in this point-shaving scheme that's getting paid to throw games. In all, 39 players across 17 programs are allegedly involved.
We allege an extensive international criminal conspiracy.
Federal prosecutors announcing criminal charges against more than 24 people, including current and former Eastern players, in an alleged game-ringing scheme involving college basketball.
A transnational criminal scheme to fix NCAA Division I men's basketball games, as well as Professional Chinese Basketball Association games.
The Justice Department detailing what they describe as a massive operation.
An extensive international criminal conspiracy of NCAA players, alumni, and professional bettors who fixed games across the country.
According to court documents, it all started in 2022 with game fixing in the Chinese Basketball Association. The fixers would bet on the games from the U.S. Prosecutors say they expanded the scheme to Division I college basketball games in the 2023-24 season, allegedly recruiting players nationwide to manipulate games, paying them $10,000 to $30,000 per game to underperform. The fixers placed millions of dollars in wagers against those teams, and prosecutors say the players who allegedly took part in the scheme were paid hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Imperils the integrity of sport itself. And when that happens, the Department of Justice will step in to protect what is a sacred institution of American life.
Now, looking again at EMU, Nelson and Terry refused to cooperate with an NCAA investigation in January of last year. Hart just joined the team. He's accused of throwing games while he played in New Orleans. According to the Detroit Free Press, Eastern Michigan has denied knowledge of Hart's involvement in the betting scheme prior to his transfer to Ypsilanti. Well, this year's flu season has already taken a toll, and it does not appear to be slowing down anytime soon. So we asked you to send in your questions about the flu. Doc McGee has read them and joins us to answer some of the more common ones. Hey, Doc.
All of the questions were really good, so let's start with Jan, who asks, Can you have the flu without a fever? The answer is that while it is much, much more common to have a fever with the flu, it is possible to have the flu without a fever. And I have two specific notes about that. First, it could simply be that the person isn't mounting a fever. That's more likely to occur in people with immune compromise or even older people. My second thought is there are many people who might be on medications like NSAIDs or even Tylenol for other conditions like arthritis or pain, and the medications they're on might be suppressing a fever. Andrea asks, we got our flu shots in September 2025. Should we get a second shot now? The answer is no. One flu shot per season is generally enough because the goal is to boost your immunity to the strains most likely to be circulating, and the vaccine is only reformulated once a year. Now, there are two exceptions. First is any child who's getting a flu vaccine for the first time. They need 2 doses 4 weeks apart. The second might be any immune compromise where your doctor might recommend a second vaccination. Jackie asks, what should I do if I get it when recovering from open heart surgery? So this is obviously pretty specific, but I have some important, more general thoughts. First off, anyone that's recently undergone major surgery is at risk for a more severe case of the flu or its complications, and this is even more so with any heart or lung procedure. If you develop the flu, you should not be shy about calling either your surgeon or your primary care doctor as soon as possible. Antiviral medications like Tamiflu might be especially helpful for situations like that. Now, specific to open heart surgery, I would point out that a cough can be especially problematic as your breastbone is still healing and your general risk of complications is going to be much higher, so you should definitely contact your surgeon. Julie asks, what are the first signs you have the flu? Now, obviously, it's going to be a little bit different for everyone, but one thing that more commonly happens with the flu that points to it as the source is a very sudden onset. People often describe it as feeling like they got hit by a truck with body aches, fever, chills, weakness, headache, and respiratory symptoms basically coming on over just a few hours. Sven asks, why do people run to the ER for flu treatment? Now, personally, as an ER doc, I'd rather see people come too soon than too late. But medically speaking, the most common reasons are high fever with dehydration that need IV fluids, as well as increasing shortness of breath where pneumonia might be a concern. Also, unfortunately, it can be just because they have a concern, but they can't get in to see their own doctor, which is generally preferred. Now, finally, I would point out, there are times when antiviral medications can be especially helpful, but they need to be started within 48 hours, which might mean a trip to the ER or urgent care. Jessica asks, why has my child gotten influenza A twice just 3 weeks apart? So Jessica, that can happen, and there's a couple of likely explanations. It is possible to get infected with 2 different influenza A strains. This year it would be H1N1 and H3N2. Now, it is also possible that it was a resurgence of an infection after an initial improvement. Katie asks, when I get the flu shot, I get sick for well over a month, so now I don't get it. Any explanation? All right, so here's the thing. While a flu shot can definitely make some people feel crummy for a day or two, a month is not expected at all, and I don't really have a specific explanation for your situation. The only thing I will say is it is not because the flu shot gave you the flu. A month-long illness after a vaccine might actually be from a different problem, and you should discuss that with your doctor. Patty asks, how long does this strain take to run its course? So it's different for everyone. Now, while this year's more common flu strain does appear to spread more easily and cause more severe symptoms, the duration isn't any different. Starting from when you're exposed, it takes about 2 days to begin to get sick. Then symptoms often rapidly worsen over the next few days and often begin to improve after about 5 to 7 days. Now, it is possible for a cough to linger for another week or two, but it should be improving overall. If it's not improving or your fevers are persistent or recur, that is a clear reason to get evaluated for a complication like a bacterial pneumonia. Back to you.
All right, Doc, thank you so much for taking the time to do all that work for us. Now, we know how popular protein powders are right now, but some of them contain something concerning. Consumer Reports is putting the big name brands to the test, and we are in that forewarned weather alert as we take a live look at Mount Clemens right now. We're going to update you on the conditions outside and when you can expect things to get worse later on this afternoon. Now to a Consumer Reports investigation into what is in some of the most popular protein powders and shakes. Last year, Consumer Reports tested 23 products. Plant-based products had the most concerning results, with 9 times the amount of lead than dairy-based products. Naked Nutrition's Vegan Mass Gainer and Huel's Black Edition Vegan Powder had the worst results and should be avoided altogether. Despite these results, millions of people use these powders every day, especially this time of year with new fitness or diet resolutions. So as our Rhonda Walker is showing us, Consumer Reports went back to the lab to test more popular brands and help you decide which ones are worth your money.
Last fall, Consumer Reports tested dozens of protein powders and ready-to-drink shakes. What the lab found raised red flags. More than 2/3 contain more lead in one serving than CR's food safety experts say is safe in a full day.
Our previous protein powder investigation prompted a crazy wave of reactions and concerns from readers. One of the most common responses we got was questions from readers asking, what about all the other protein powders out there?
This time, researchers tested 5 reader-requested chocolate protein powders: Clean Simple Eats, Equate from Walmart, Premier Protein, Ritual, and Truvani. The results were notably different. All 5 powders came back with low levels of lead. According to CR's threshold, these powders are safe for daily or near daily consumption. On average, these powders also had lower levels of lead and arsenic than the products CR tested in its earlier investigation. But the testing also raises questions about why so many other protein powders still contain high levels of heavy metals.
There are no federal limits for lead in protein powder. And while the FDA requires that manufacturers keep their products free of harmful contaminants, it is largely up to the companies themselves to determine what counts as harmful and to determine how often to test.
Nutritionists say most of us don't need protein supplements at all. Foods like beans, tofu, eggs, dairy, fish, and lean meats can cover your daily protein needs. But if you rely on powders, Consumer Reports says don't assume healthy means risk-free. Their advice: be cautious and consider using protein powder only occasionally.
Now, Consumer Reports says many people focus on protein, but it's fiber that most adults are missing. The Academy of Nutrition and Dietitians, they recommend about 25 grams for women and 38 grams for men, depending on age. Peas and beans, whole grains, nuts, seeds, fruits, and veggies are a great source of fiber. Consumer Reports is urging the FDA to set strict limits on lead in protein powders, by the way. And if you're interested in reading more about the protein powder or shakes found to have high amounts of lead, look for the story on our website over at clickondetroit.com. Still ahead, we are tracking that snow that's moving into Metro Detroit. We're going to bring you live conditions and what you can expect, especially later this afternoon and into the evening commute. Ashley has that forecast when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. We are on top of that forewarned weather alert as we watch the snow move into Metro Detroit from the west side of the state. This is a live look at the USS Silverside Submarine Museum out in Muskegon, where you can see the snow that they are currently getting. So Ashley's got this look on her face right now.
Because I know that so well. I mean, I've been going to Muskegon for almost 20 years every summer. Yeah, and we stay, and that's a view outside our hotel. So I'm like, I know exactly where that's at. But
so when you look at the radar, you can see exactly where it's at too.
That's
moving its way across to us.
Yes, and so that's why we've issued the forewarned weather alert for today, stressing the snowfall accumulations shouldn't be what we saw Wednesday, but we will have some additional accumulation on top of what created havoc on Wednesday, and still some slippery side streets, and so we will have some more slick conditions, especially in time for the afternoon and evening drives. So that's the forewarned weather alert that we're tracking for today. Kind of just breaking down once again the timing. We had a little bit of light snow this morning, and it did create a few issues on the road. Darnell had some accidents early this morning, but we'll have another impactful evening commute. And then we don't want to skip over the fact that it's going to be 32 degrees today. So that means today's snow will probably be a little more wet in as far as just what's falling from the sky as opposed to the dry kind of flakes that we had on Wednesday. So it could be a little slushy and maybe leading even to a refreeze as temperatures fall throughout the evening. Satellite and radar. So the snow that we contended with this morning kind of being pulled by that warm front going east, and we're pretty much in a lull for now. But then we have that disturbance that's over Lake Michigan, and that snow pushing into Muskegon and our friends on the west side of the state, and will continue to push eastward as we head in the later part of the morning midday. So here's a little snapshot, Exact Track 40. Let's zoom into the one area in southeast Michigan still contending with a little bit of snow at this hour, and that does clip Port Huron, Marine City, and stretching up towards Sandusky, but for the far east siders there. Temperature outlook. So we are going to have what we've been calling kind of a winter wall up this morning. We have a few rounds of snow, and then we have the Arctic air building in. And as days 6 through 10 show on that temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center, well below average. And I just need to show you even the 14-day outlook. So the next 2 weeks could be below average, and that takes us to the very end of January. Right now, we are sitting on either side of 20 across town, which is improvement from yesterday. Still, though, feeling like single digits in some spots, but most of us now in those low double digits. Not sub-zero like 24 hours ago. So 32 degrees for the high for today. That's exactly where we should be for this point in January. So you see we go out of the 20s into the 30s. And as the morning and afternoon rolls on, those snow chances become a bit more widespread, but then turning cloudy by, I would say, 6, 7 o'clock this evening. Here, we'll map it out for you. So you start to see the western communities probably just before midnight. I wish let's get this day over with. It's Friday. Just before noon, starts to see some of that snow, and then it's blanketing the area early afternoon. Here's a little snapshot just before 4, so the thumb's still getting that, but by 5, now a lot of that is out of here, but crews are going to have to work to clean that up in the midst of the evening rush hour drive. So I anticipate it will be slow with some scattered chances through the weekend. Another widespread light snow Sunday night going into MLK Day, but a lot of kids off of school, and that won't be as impactful. Snowfall forecast, though, for today, widespread 1 to maybe upward of 2 inches. I'll say some localized pockets closer to 3. And your 7-day forecast really illustrates that major cool down by next week. 20s this weekend, and come Monday, Tuesday of next week, highs only in the teens. We have overnight lows in the single digits, and that's going to be something we keep a very close eye on by Tuesday morning, because models indicate that the wind chill come Tuesday morning could reach 15 below 0. And I think that's the threshold for a lot of districts to call school. But they're also coming off of not just a holiday week. We have big districts that are closed today.
Right.
Many were closed yesterday, so they might be a little more conservative to make that call on Tuesday. But nonetheless, I want you to know if your kid's standing at the bus stop Tuesday, just start planning now. Right. Don't have them stand out there. Have them in a car, if they can be in your vehicle or friends, or just walk to the bus stop at the last second.
Right. Looking at today's timing of the snow, it seems like midnight would be better.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because, then it's like, we could just be in the side.
Wake up, it's all cleared up, it'll be great.
I know, and you don't have to deal with like rush hour traffic, but unfortunately falling, and I do believe that's probably why Pontiac and Detroit, not only the side streets, but for schools today, kind of falling when buses would have to be taking kids home.
Exactly. There's a lot of gravel roads out there the buses have to go over. Okay, thanks, Ash. All right, still ahead here on Local 4 Live. You may have to pay a new $45 fee at the airports if you don't bring this one thing when you're flying. And then we're going to reveal the cheapest new car on the market. And when I say cheap, it's still over 20 grand. Alrighty, in 2 weeks, if you don't have a real ID, you're going to have to pay extra to get through Metro Airport. It's going to cost you $45 to get through a TSA checkpoint. The new program starts on the 1st of next month. The TSA is encouraging people without a real ID to pay online and bring the receipt with you to the airport. Again, this is only if you don't have a real ID. Metro Airport says 97% of passengers in Michigan do have their updated ID. To know if you have one, look for a gold circle with the star at the top of your driver's license. Well, were you one of the many Verizon customers that lost some cell phone service for nearly the entire day on Wednesday? If so, Verizon is about to credit your account. The cell carrier says that they're going to start to issue a $20 credit to impacted customers. The outage lasted from about noon to 10 o'clock at night on Wednesday. It's unclear what caused this outage, but the FCC says it is monitoring that situation. If you're still experiencing problems, Verizon says just restart your phone. And if you are thinking about buying or selling a home, there is some good news. Mortgage rates have fallen to their lowest levels in more than 3 years. Freddie Mac says the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate was 6.06% in the last week. So there are some signs that things are changing. For years, homeowners have been reluctant to sell and give up their low mortgage rates secured early in the pandemic. But Realtor.com says the share of homeowners with mortgage rates about 6% has now surpassed the share with rates below 3%. We're going to get you updated on that forewarned weather alert. If you're heading to the auto show this weekend, you should prepare to drive through some snow. We'll be right back here on Local 4 Live.
Local 4 News starts now with a forewarned weather alert.
And with that forewarned weather alert, we have a live look at the roads right now as we kind of traverse our way through neighborhoods in the Detroit area. What you're seeing right now, that's the reason the majority of schools are closed in much of Detroit, because these side streets are just so hard to get through. They haven't been plowed yet. We're experiencing even more snow expected to coat around the afternoon hour. 11, 12 was when Ashley says that stuff is going to start to move in. In fact, let's take a look at exact track 40 radar right now. The snow is currently falling over on the west side of the state, Grand Rapids, Muskegon, and more. Ashley says most of Metro Detroit should get between 1 and 3 inches today. Not a lot, but with the snow that's already there and the timing because of rush hour, that could create some more problems out there. And now look at the traffic map. Right now at 9:32 in the morning, not too bad, because obviously the morning commute is over and the roads are fine. It's going to be an entirely different story, though, later on this afternoon. Ashley is going to be back here in just a few minutes to time out exactly when that will be here. Let's get to some other big news headlines here and locally around the country. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Machado gifted her Nobel Peace Prize to President Donald Trump during her U.S. visit to the nation's capital. She is trying to lobby for her place as the leader of Venezuela. The gift comes to Trump as Trump continues to manage crises around the globe, including the ongoing protests in Iran. Alice Barr is in Washington with the latest.
Hi there. The White House confirmed President Trump did keep Machado's Nobel Peace Prize, an award he's long publicly said he deserves for helping resolve global conflicts, though the gift from Machado is symbolic.
Closing out an eventful week on the world stage, President Trump is now in possession of a Nobel Peace Prize, presented to him by Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado.
And a recognition for his unique commitment with our freedom.
She told Fox News the gift is on behalf of the people of Venezuela.
He deserves it.
The president called it a wonderful gesture of mutual respect, though it is symbolic, with the Nobel Institute saying the prize cannot be transferred. Machado's visit comes amid uncertainty over her role in Venezuela's future. Following the U.S. ouster of authoritarian leader Nicolas Maduro, President Trump said he did not believe Machado had the respect to lead. Florida Republican lawmakers hoping she'll prove otherwise.
She's the legitimate leader of the opposition in Venezuela. She proved it. She earned it.
President Trump has said the U.S. would run Venezuela until a safe transition can be made, and praised interim president and Maduro loyalist Delcy Rodriguez.
She's somebody that we've worked with very well.
Citing her support this week of a U.S. sale of Venezuelan oil, while U.S. forces seized another oil tanker linked to Venezuela that Homeland Security says was illegally defying sanctions. All that as President Trump is closely monitoring tensions in Iran, noting the Iranian regime backed off planned executions of protesters after the president warned the U.S. could take action. U.S.-based human rights activists say more than 2,600 people have died in the crackdown on anti-government protesters, and the White House says all options remain on the table.
As he weighs his options in Iran, President Trump told his national security team that if he chose military action, it would need to be a swift and decisive blow to the regime and not a sustained war, according to 4 sources, including U.S. official. U.S. forces evacuated from a base in Qatar amid Iranian threats to retaliate if the U.S. strikes. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
All right, Alice, thank you very much. It has been 10 years since the Flint water crisis was declared a federal emergency and gained national attention. The crisis started during the switch from Detroit's water system to the Flint River to save money, but that water wasn't properly treated. Since then, the city has replaced most pipes and installed a backup water pipeline, but nearly a decade later, there's still an outstanding lawsuit. Senator Alyssa Slotkin says families want accountability from the EPA.
More than a decade later, the EPA is denying, deflecting, and dragging out this cause in court. And in fact, the Trump administration, just like the Biden administration, has the ability to settle this case without Congress or anyone else. They should either take their day in court or settle fairly.
Now, the EPA maintains it is not responsible for the water crisis. The lawyers arguing there's not enough evidence to suggest the agency failed to oversee the crisis. Well, if you get nervous when you see a roundabout sign, you are not alone. Michigan Auto Law just released its annual list of the most dangerous roundabouts based on 2024 crashes. Topping that list, no surprise, this is a roundabout an 18.5 mile in Van Dyke in Sterling Heights with 162 crashes. That's a 20% jump from last year. 12 people were hurt there, and it's also the second most dangerous intersection in the state. The rest of the top 5 are all in Metro Detroit. Number 2 is Pontiac Trail and Martin Parkway in Commerce with 151 crashes. Number 3, Orchard Lake at 14 Mile in Farmington Hills, 109 crashes. And Ann Arbor State and Ellsworth Roundabout comes in 4th with 85 crashes. Number 5, Whitmore Lake and Lee in Green Oak Township, 80 crashes there. For the full list of the top 10, you can see it on our website at clickondetroit.com. Well, the average cost of a new car is at a record high, and if you're in the market for a new car, a new report is finding the cheapest new car out there. Edmunds and Kelley Blue Book says you will pay an average of $50,000. No new models, though, are under $20,000 remaining on the market. Now, Edmunds says the cheapest car is a 2026 Hyundai Venue at $20,550. Cars have gotten more expensive because of recent tariffs. All right, speaking of cars, let's go to the Detroit Auto Show for a conversation on how to move Detroit forward. Tonight is the charity preview. Tomorrow, the show opens to the public at 10 a.m. Yesterday, we were there as industry and community leaders came together for the Michigan Chronicles Pancakes and Politics event. It was a discussion on moving the regional economy forward, featuring Bedrock CEO Jared Fleischer, Wayne County Executive Warren Evans, and Assembly Ventures co-founder Chris Thomas. It was streamed here on Local 4 Plus and is now streaming on demand. And after that chat, we had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people, including Chris Thomas, about what else we can do to move this economy forward. Chris Thomas is here with Assembly Ventures, the panelist that was on the far right side of your screen as we had the conversation. It seemed like of the overarching things, education, skilled trades was maybe number one.
Absolutely.
I hate to say our deficits, but maybe it's strong enough and we can just start saying it that way because maybe we'll start paying more attention to it. Where do you think our number one deficits are in terms of that? And why aren't we having more robust conversations about the holes in the pipeline for talent?
I think deficits is a tough framing.
Sure.
I think we want to frame this in terms of what do we need to do, but we certainly have challenges, and we need to be honest about those challenges. But I think it all begins with how do we coordinate resources, how do we coordinate efforts, and how do we decide what we want to be today that's going to enable us to be what we want to be tomorrow. And that comes back to getting trades back into school, getting the stigma of trades, just kind of doing away with it altogether, understanding that the future is going to be building and working with our hands, and makers are going to be able to succeed and build great things, not just here in Detroit and Michigan, but around our country. It's a mentality piece, but it's a programmatic piece as well that we need to, as a society, fund, structure, and engage on correctly.
As you look at your clients, the ventures that are working on, is that a common conversation that we have these goals, but we don't see enough people that can do the work underneath of them?
The common conversation amongst early stage technology businesses is where is talent? So it's not necessarily looking at, what the previous 12, 15 years grow that talent. Where did it come from? Where's the talent today? So that
was the theme for you, all about now. Today.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, well, it's about now, but what can we do now? The best time to plant a tree was 30 years ago. The second best time is right now. We need to be very honest about the fact that the future of entrepreneurship, the future of technology and manufacturing, it's going to go where the talent is. And so Detroit has unbelievable talent. We have an amazing ecosystem. We need to continue to build on that and be honest about our challenges and working to solve them every day.
There was a great conversation, too, about the talent in Detroit and the youth now, which we start to say youth, and I start to feel old, and I'm older than I really want to.
I hear you, my friend.
These kids want to be downtown. They want to live downtown. I think one of the challenges for them is going to be affordability.
I think affordability is a challenge everywhere.
Sure.
And when it comes to downtown, we have to be thinking about how are we building more housing. We have to be very honest about how are we ensuring that mobility options are plentiful. Yep. And that includes everything from low-cost vehicles and ensuring that we have our private auto insurance issues wrangled, but also looking at new ways, as I mentioned earlier. Like there's a huge opportunity from a walk-away from a multimodal perspective to connect the downtown core, but it's more than that. It's the broader city, it's the state. How are we really thinking holistically with best use of public dollars and empowering people with their own dollars to get to where they need to be and where they want to be?
I had Sam and Dennis on the show 2 days ago, and one of our conversations was about this kind of fine line that we seem to be dancing between retaining the great talent while also attracting the new, because we're trying to do both, right?
Absolutely. We must. How do we do both? We do both by allowing for and fostering great opportunities. So amongst our industry incumbents, they desperately want to hire and keep all the talent that's here. How are we ensuring that not only are we paying a fair wage, but wages that really are above norm for the region and for the country based on the great work that they're doing? But how are we having an entrepreneurial ecosystem? I think Ford Motor Company's done a great job at Michigan Central of really fostering these. What is the next Ford Motor Company? What is the next rocket? We need to be creating them right now, and they will be here in years and decades' time, employing hundreds, thousands of Detroiters, of Michiganders. But that is a key component. It can't be one or the other. It has to be both.
Yeah. My last question for you here is, do you think that the narrative of Detroit has changed enough where we can reach out across the country, across the world, to pull people in and say, not only is this a great place to work, but to live as well?
I think Detroit is the greatest city in the world. And I say that completely honestly. I live here. I love it here. I think Michigan is the greatest state in our country. Has it changed enough? I think that's the wrong question.
Okay.
I think what we have to be asking ourselves is what do we want to be going forward? Detroit versus everybody, I think, has served us well. We are a gritty, we are a proud city and a proud citizenry that is a part of Detroit and the greater Detroit area. But I want Detroit to power everyone. I want Detroit to power our state, our country, and the automotive technology, the broader mobility technology, and everything else the great things we have going in on our university centers at Michigan State, Michigan, and Detroit and otherwise. That mentality it has to change, I think, if we're going to continue to grow.
I agree. Okay, before I let you go, show off your jacket. What do you got there?
So the merch at the Detroit Auto Show this year is outstanding. There's a booth that's actually right in front of the main stage, and I was walking by yesterday. I saw this piece that reads, "There's only one Motor City," and there's a bunch of other things that they have there, but it really is top notch. Get some for you, get some for the kids. They're doing a great job on the floor. And Sam, as a quick comment, who's running the auto show, unbelievable work.
Right. And only a second year doing it.
And every year we have to continue to get better and think about what is automotive. It's robotics, it's autonomous vehicles, it is humanoid robotics. Yeah. I think we're going to see a lot more, not just this year, which is an amazing show, but in the years to come.
Sounds good. Chris, thanks so much.
Thanks so much. Great to meet you.
And you can watch all of our Pancakes and Politics broadcasts right now over at clickondetroit.com and WDIV's YouTube page. Well, if you were heading to the charity preview tonight or the auto show this weekend, prepare to be driving through some snow. Ashley says today's snow is just the first round that we're expecting. She's got everything you need to know coming up next. Welcome back. As we mentioned, the snow moving in from the west side of the state. A live look at a sledding hill in Ottawa County that's just outside of Grand Rapids. It's probably going to be a busy spot today. Ashley Barrissey is here to give us a better idea of what the... I guess, is that about the snow, Mike, the sledding, or about Ashley?
What's he telling you?
Nothing. Silence.
I think
he doesn't want to commit.
I appreciate his sound effects. But you mentioned a good spot for sledding.
Yep.
We've been so focused on the inconvenient part of today's event because we want to prepare folks that we kind of just overlook the fact that today's probably the best sledding day because a high of 32, much better than when we're in the teens with sub-zero wind chills.
And I bet you the ski resorts are loving what happened on Wednesday.
Well, absolutely. Some fresh snow as opposed to, having to generate all that. So yeah, here we are. The first round has pushed out of here. So now I just want to start with this to show you the remnant snow that's kind of lingering in very isolated pockets, but just about 15 minutes ago or so is where we had a little bit of that snow from Marine City, Port Huron up towards Sandusky. So that's pushed eastward. I will zoom in just a bit closer and you might see a couple little light flakes fly, but that's about it. However, we have more widespread snow on tap heading into the midday hours, and that could lead to more slippery conditions for the evening commute for today. So that's why we've issued the forewarned weather alert in anticipation of what's ahead. And breaking it down in further detail, it's not just the fact we're picking up maybe 1 to 3 inches of snow. This is going to be already on top of snow-covered side streets that haven't been treated yet. We understand that some of these bus routes for school districts are still kind of struggling to be cleared, so we're going to have that on tap for later today. impacting both. We had a little impact this morning, some slide outs and accidents, but overall it'll be a bigger impact for later on this evening. And then a refreeze could occur. There's a risk for it at least. If we get some slushy snow when we hit about 32, well then when temperatures drop tonight in the wake of a cold front, you could see patches of ice by tomorrow. This isn't inconvenient. This isn't like a major winter storm, but here we are tracking that upper level disturbance ahead of the cold front, bringing moisture off of Lake Michigan and starting to push eastward. Temperature outlook needs to be talked about too, because once we get past, this snowmaker, well, now the temperatures are going to tumble, not just by the end of the weekend, but now taking you into 6 to 10 days from now. Here's a look at 8 to 14 days, and we are going to be rounding out the month below average. So very cold end to January. Right now we sit really either side of 20. We've been there for a couple hours now, and a couple single-digit wind chills still on the map with a few of those low double digits. So, don't look at the car thermometer and think that's what it feels like outside. You have to factor in the winds no matter what direction, as they do play a role this time of year in a wind chill effect. 32 for the afternoon high. Snow becomes a little more intense and widespread, I would say by 1 p.m. through about 4, 5, 6 o'clock. We're pushing that out of here, holding on to cloudy skies and just trying to clean up the mess that was created. This is an illustration of that. I've stopped the clock just around noon, and from Ann Arbor stretching all the way up towards Waterford. Now we're starting to see the northwestern suburbs get clipped with the onset of the snow. It's blanketing the area as we head through 1, 2, maybe even 3 o'clock. But by the time we get closer to 4, it's lifting into the thumb, and by 5 out of here. So crews will be out there with the rush trying to plow or salt and get things cleared up. Off and on scattered chances through the weekend. There is a hint of another chance of a little more widespread light snow Sunday night into Monday. Monday being the holiday for folks with MLK Day. But let's talk about totals for this event first. Probably about 1 to upward of 2 inches in spots for today across southeastern Michigan when it's all said and done later on this afternoon. And then we'll have a few, bouts of flurries or some light snow, but the temperatures are going to be bottoming out early next week. Monday, Tuesday, highs in the teens. Those overnight lows Monday night, Tuesday night fall in the single digits, and models indicating that the winds will be picking up and wind chill readings could be 15 below zero come Tuesday morning. Still, more than 4 days out here to be able to fine tune that part of the forecast, but we want to make sure that you're prepared for what could be a brutal morning for kids at the bus stop.
And these are the days that you don't want to leave that can of pop in the car overnight.
Absolutely not, because you'll have a lovely mess to be cleaning up.
Sure will.
It seems like you're speaking from experience, Nick.
Nick Bank told me.
Oh, okay. What?
It was definitely me. All over the headliner. Not great. For our next Go For It event, we are raising readers. Local 4 teaming up with Reach Out and Read Michigan, collecting new books for children ages up to 5. Early exposure to reading helps brain development, emotional growth, and gets kids ready for school. We're going to be at the Southfield Library on Wednesday, January 21st from 6 o'clock in the morning until 6 at night. That's over on Evergreen Road in Southfield. We will take any new children's book, but if you scan that QR code there on your screen, you'll see their full recommended list. Or you can also make a donation right now. Still ahead, we're going to give you a sneak peek at the brand new Saturday Night Live, and this weekend's host is part of a major pop culture phenomenon, and it's not Tati or Kim. But before we go to break, a live look at Metro Airport on this forewarned weather alert day. That forecast is really impactful later on this afternoon. Welcome back. As our forewarned weather team has issued this weather alert for your Friday, I do want to give you a look at conditions right now on 696 in Southfield. Doesn't look too bad, but this afternoon that snow picks up and is going to make for a tricky, maybe messy evening commute. And if you want to know what's happening outside your door, take a look. Lynn's in Waterford Township is showing us this snow next to a frozen lake. And Delta and Taylor's reminding us that she did ask for the snow, so this might be her fault. Anyone can submit those types of photos under the My Picks tab over and click on Detroit.com. We might show some of them in our later newscasts. And this weekend, SNL is back with its first new show of the year. Stranger Things co-star Finn Wolfhard is the host, and A$AP Rocky is that musical guest. Mark Barger has a sneak peek at what you can expect.
It's back now. He's back.
With Stranger Things all wrapped up.
Get behind me. I'll handle this.
The newest challenge for Finn Wolfhard is hosting SNL.
It's just Sarah.
I had greasy beef cubes again today.
You're a tiny part of a huge operation, so you kind of just have to like you're going through a car wash. You know what I mean? You're just being pulled around, taken around, and you kind of just have to, not think, just go and do it.
Sorry about the broom.
And Wolfhard says that is liberating and fun.
The storyteller keeps telling stories.
Branching out from 5 seasons as Mike Wheeler.
Being able to just be here and kind of also just show another side of myself that I've never showed before and perform in a different kind of way I've never performed before is exciting.
And nerve-wracking. But as a longtime SNL fan, Wolfhard is primed for what's ahead.
It's such a roller coaster. You have to ride. You're gonna get nervous.
Starting a new chapter after Hawkins, Indiana.
I'm definitely sad for it to be over. Keeping in touch with those great people that I was in the show with for so long is also kind of a grounding thing.
And Wolfhard needs solid ground.
Okay, are you guys doing a bit from Stranger Things?
After finishing this week's table read.
Some of it feels familiar just by watching the show, but also it's just, yeah, it's nuts. It's controlled chaos.
Mark Barger, NBC Entertainment.
And guess what? You can watch that episode of SNL right here on Local 4 after Local 4 News at 11. So much more coming out throughout the day here on Local 4 and Local 4 Plus. Guess who's here? The hosts of Live in the D.
It's Tati and Kim. Happy Friday.
Thank TGIF.
TGIF.
It has been a week.
We have a packed show with lots of Good Friday stuff, right?
Yes, and I'm especially excited because I feel like there's school closings, a lot of people maybe.
A lot of people are watching.
At home,
Yes.
yeah. So tune into Live in the D today. We've got a packed show. If you're looking to make a home improvement, this is the time to do that. The Novi Home Show
is happening at the
Suburban Collection.
No,
the former.
It's called
Suburban
Vibe
Collection
Credit
Showplace.
Union.
What?
That's why I made her say it. I was like,
It's like yesterday.
I missed that press release, I guess.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. But here's what you might be interested
You know
in.
how long it took me to learn to say the Suburban Collection Showplace?
Well, maybe it'll be like Pine Knob, where they'll just eventually go back to it.
Don't tell Vibe Credit Union. No.
Exactly.
Also, of course, Greg Russell is going to be here because it's Friday. And we need to get set up with what you want to stream at home.
Yeah,
I'm streaming at home. I'm not going out this weekend.
Exactly. It's a perfect weekend for movies. Dine in the D. I know you always are interested in the food. Dakota Inn. Have you ever eaten there?
No, what's that?
It is like a famous place.
Okay.
April Morton takes us there for Dine in the D.
Where is it?
So, it's in Detroit. I don't know the street location right now.
Just saying Detroit.
It's in Detroit.
It's in Detroit. And then we have someone on who is going to teach you, families and kids, how to plan financially for the future and how to teach your kids to be in on that process.
Oh, that's really helpful.
It's going to be really good. Hannah Kessler will be with us.
I like
She's
that.
really smart and she gives really practical tips. We've had her on the show before.
Yeah.
Very practical, very doable, very approachable. So
Very
you definitely
cool.
want to
What
check
about
it
for
out.
like adults?
Adults?
How about
I think the
say
same rules will apply.
adults with 2 kids,
Yeah.
maybe works at Channel 4,
Yeah.
hosts a show around 11 o'clock.
Exactly.
She's super financially solid.
It's good though
Yeah.
for everybody to have a little refresher, but especially
Yeah,
kids. Start them
especially
young.
kids. Here's the thing: all you parents are doing is swiping. They think the money is just magically appears on the
magically
card.
appears.
So there's some good lessons that we'll
This
learn.
is Live in the D. Starts in an hour and 2 minutes. Make it a great Friday, everybody.